Hi, welcome to episode 12 of the Noisy Golfer, the junior golf podcast brought to you by Noisy Golf. I'm Paul and this is Jade, and we are delighted to have our next guest featuring from Ignite Golf. It's junior golf coach Aaron Lansberry. Aaron, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. I know that obviously you've been in contact with Jade, and first of all, I'm glad that my sidekick is back because she's missed the last couple of podcasts.
We've had all of the germs in the house. I've still got some of the germs thing, so I haven't got much of a voice, but I'm back. Sorry to everybody that I missed.
But yeah, continuing our conversations, really. I know that we've been following each other through the Noisy Golf Instagram accounts and obviously the great content that you put out there for your juniors, and so I suppose golf followers everywhere generally. But we just thought it was a great opportunity to have you on board, really to learn about your golf journey and just hopefully share the great work that you're doing with your own academy, as well as some sort of great hints, tips for junior golfers and parents alike. For those that don't know you, it'd be great just to get a bit of an insight into your own intro, your own background into golf, and go from there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, no, it's good to be on the podcast. You guys are doing a great job. So yeah, keep it up wherever we end up today. But yeah, I'm Aaron. I work over at a place called Stonebridge Golf Club, which is pretty much between Birmingham and Coventry. Do pretty much just specialise in junior golf, really. Do a handful of adult one-to-ones, but nothing mega. And then we see about 180 odd kids each week.
Okay.
In our coaching, have a massive sort of on-course playing section to our coaching, which is really important. And then do all sorts of other events and things on the side. And as a whole, our sort of overall purpose of our coaching is to try to create as many lifelong golfers as possible. Obviously starting out as juniors.
Superb. So typically, what ages do you start from and to? Where does it begin and end in terms of age range?
Normally it's primary school age. So as soon as they're in school, they generally come along to the group. So it's normally around 5.
Okay.
That kind of age, and then we go all the way up until I think 17. I think is the oldest we've got at the moment that's within the groups. But then they tend to stick around afterwards anyway and keep coming along for whether it's helping out or coaching or whatever. Beyond that.
Superb. And with regards to your own personal journey, obviously that's led you to junior golf. It's great to there's loads of questions that we've got on the academy itself, but just in terms of building a bit of a narrative for your own personal journey as well. What was it that led you to golf in the first place, and what then led you to junior golf specifically with the work that you're doing?
Where did it start for you? How old were you when you started at golf?
I was a bit of a sport junkie. I think I just played every single sport that was available to me. Yeah. So we used to play football, golf, squash, tennis, cricket, everything. Just if it was something to do with normally hitting something, a bat and a ball kind of style sport, whacking stuff, I was all over it. So I don't really know when I first picked up a golf club. In all honesty, I was probably 2. I don't know. Just started smacking stuff. Joined a local club. This is a pretty typical kind of PGA route of getting involved, really. Joined a club when I was about 10, 11, 12. Made a few friends at the club. Just played golf. School holidays was there 5 days a week from 9 till 9 basically, and just golfed permanently, solidly through the summer holidays and things, and ended up going to university, and I studied at Birmingham University doing the applied golf management studies, which is alongside with the PGA. Did that and came out at 21 and went straight into coaching from then. As a kid, though, I kind of always thought when I was sort of 15, 16, I always wanted to be a golf coach. That was kind of what I always wanted to do. And I always liked the idea of just working with kids because it's just a bit of a laugh, really, and just messing about for a living, and it's good fun.
We've seen your videos,
No, we love it.
Yeah, we definitely have some interesting things going on.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of drew me to your account was all of the laughter, all of the noise, all of the chaos on your videos through the games and things. It's that. And that to me is junior golf. It's not, it's not about the formalities. It's not about the technicalities. It's about having fun. And, I think from what you're showing on your Instagram account at the minute, that's what has happened with your juniors there.
I think
absolutely, yeah.
I think what's really interesting as well is that, and I have this conversation loads when I go to take Isaac coaching, people instantly think when you see a kid that can play golf, that the only path is to become a professional golfer. And what I found really interesting in what you said then is that from about 15, 16, it wasn't playing, which generally people's perception is, because obviously we've seen you hit 324-yard drives on your Instagram account, but your instant route was a natural route was a golf coach.
The amount of kids that we see, if we get it realistically, we're never going to have 180 of those that are going to become pros.
Yeah.
Of which, how many of those actually want to become pros?
Exactly.
It's, the number's very, very low, but that's not really the point of what we're trying to achieve. We're not trying to, if we get a PGA Tour golfer out of it, great, but that's not the overriding purpose of our coaching. We allow that to be possible, definitely, through the setup, but it's definitely not the purpose. And then when you speak to all those that are made it out on tour, none of them necessarily went through this set pathway of doing X, Y, and Z, and it just kind of happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of like it did with me. I just joined the club, I made a few mates, and it just happens, and I ended up becoming a PGA pro. I played quite high competitive. I used to play for my county, Sussex, and Southeast England, and all that sort of stuff, and competed on national sort of scales quite high. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. So it's, I like to think I'm the same as most kids out there that don't necessarily want to be that player.
I think it's really refreshing, isn't it?
No, it is. Absolutely. I think that, again, we did a great podcast last week with Kai, the Golf Trust, and I think that we had a very interesting debate in terms of sort of the conservative element of golf. There is still a bit of a stuck in the mud mentality. Things are shifting. It's great. But I think that when we sort of embarked on this journey as parents, when Isaac first got into golf, it was, our reaction wasn't to push for college scholarships or professional status. It was literally for me just to go and hit a ball with Isaac.
Yeah.
And whatever happened from that just meant that we could be out having fun in the fresh air, enjoying the social aspect that golf clubs bring and everything else like that. And that was it, really. And I think that naturally, as I say, when you do see people, the natural perception is, oh my God, they're great, they must want to be a pro. But it's really refreshing to see our outlook is that there's just so much more that people don't really consider when you look at golf coaching as a whole.
Yeah, of course. And then going back to, as you guys as parents, and I think you speak on behalf of most parents, I think if I have a 6-year-old kid, let's say, that can give it a good hit, and if I ask the parents, what's the idea of bringing them along to golf, I've never had an answer of, well, I want them to be on tour in 20 years' time.
That's refreshing as well, because you'd be surprised how many parents do want that. They're all lined up, they're going to college, and so it's nice to hear that you are but you're speaking with those parents as well that do just want them to have fun, do just want them to enjoy the game, and aren't planning their future out for them already.
Exactly. I mean, we have a lot of kids that do want to become really good players, of course, and the parents are all there to support them and help them along in whatever way that they need, which is amazing, and we'll obviously support as much as we can, and make sure that we're offering the best coaching for them and help them along the way. But I don't think that comes from the immediate first session. They've never picked up a golf club, and now they're going to be a tour player in 20 years. That's unrealistic. That doesn't happen.
Just talk us through the journey, because you've obviously got 180 kids, I think you mentioned.
Roughly.
That you're coaching. Where did it begin, and how quickly or how long did it take to get to that point? Because that's an amazing amount of kids to be coaching just at one location. With the age ranges that you're looking at as well. Because we're in sort of a catchment area where I'm trying to take Isaac to different places. Sometimes there might be 10, sometimes there might be 3 or 4, but certainly not nearby. There certainly isn't the number of kids that you're coaching. So it'd be interesting to learn about how you've got to that point, and also it'd be interesting to talk about getting golf into schools as well, because we're quite conscious that the earlier that you can introduce kids to golf, the better. But there isn't really that, certainly in our local area, that's introducing kids to golf that early, certainly from the ages 5, where where your coaching is beginning from.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the first point, of sort of how we got there. It's well worth saying though, just because we have 180 kids, it doesn't mean that another coach that's only got 3 or 4 or 10, that doesn't mean I'm doing a better or a different job. It just means there's more. It's exactly. Not like a quantity is not quality. That's 2 very different things, as we all know. But mine kind of just grew, I guess, kind of naturally. We had, when my very, very first venue, it was a quietish venue. There wasn't a massive amount going on. But I just set up a junior, sort of taster session. I was brand new, so I was no good at it. I didn't know what I was doing. Just set up a taster session, had 8 kids come along. I think I signed all 8 of them up for like the next 6 weeks of coaching, sort of thing. So every 6 weeks, I knew there was going to be a little bit of a paycheck. To be honest, that was because I was fresh out of uni, so I was in the hole financially. I needed some dollar quick. So every 6 weeks, it was like, oh great, I'm going to get a couple £100 in the bank, and that was massive for me. I didn't do any shop work or anything like that. I was purely a golf coach. So at first it just was like, well, let's just keep doing that, and it just kind of blew up really from then. So it was maybe 6 or 8 months later, I had a whole Saturday of coaching, where it was just purely kids coaching, and then started branching out when I was too busy on a Saturday throughout the week, and opened up a Thursday, and it just kind of spiraled out of control, and it ended up just becoming what I wanted to, what I really started focusing on, and then just doing the kids pretty much and just focusing on that. So now there's 19, something like that, groups each week, that we have kids in, almost 10 in each one, with myself and a leader that deliver the sessions.
Yeah, amazing.
That's amazing.
No, I think one of the questions that crops up quite a lot is, of the parents that you speak to, and again, this is about sort of junior participation into golf, we've generally found that they've been introduced to golf through a parent that plays, and Isaac is no different to a lot of kids. What do you find with the kids that you're coaching? Is there an element of that their parents are naturally just wanting to get them involved in a game that they know, or how much of the kids that you coach is born out of like the parents don't know anything, the kids just shown an interest, and it's been led that way round instead?
Yeah, I think you get a bit of both, really. I mean, if you were to just look at the population of our parents and just ignore the children, and you just looked at the parents, there would be more golfers in there than a standard than the overall population, if you see what I mean. So there's definitely more parents that play golf that want to get their kids involved in golf. Numbers off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go and dig it out and figure it out. But there's certainly a massive group of them that have no idea, that parents have no idea, and they just wanted them to try something new. We get a lot of sort of referrals from other kids where Jimmy goes over to Stonebridge, does his golf, he loves it, and then we just get another kid that comes along and gets in contact with us through that. So that's probably where we get a lot of the non-golfing parents. There's not a massive amount of traffic at the club that aren't golfers. It is a golf club essentially, so there's no like gym or any other reason really for them to be there. And then promotion, apart from Instagram, we don't really do any external marketing or anything at the moment, purely because we don't really need to. We're kind of fortunately enough that it kind of is snowballing, really. I think that's the way to put it. It's just the snowball effect of having such a high number. You just end up finding more.
Just to backtrack a little bit then, so who introduced you to golf?
It was my old man. So yeah, I was a typical. My dad, he used to play golf. He wasn't a member of a club or anything. Just used to dabble every so often, have a little go. Played off about 14, I think. So he used to play golf. But he was a bit like me, I guess. When I was a kid, he used to play. He was a squash coach. He used to just play all sorts of sport. That was all we did pretty much as a kid. My dad and I just played sport.
That's good.
Amazing. Quick question with regards to tips for parents that may be seeing it, whose kids are showing a bit of an interest in golf. What's the best advice generally when they first approach you in terms of, I mean, because like Jade said before, you've got the technicals, you've got the fundamentals, quite boring, archaic stuff when it comes to golf itself. So how do you communicate that with parents who are sort of a little bit less engaged with golf generally themselves?
So your parent that doesn't have an active role in, or doesn't play golf.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing, it has to be just creating a passion. We have to try to make sure that not only that the kids have got a real good passion for golf, that they want to keep playing it. No child's gonna want to keep coming back and playing more and more golf, whether that's in sessions or on the course, if they're not enjoying it. Just like it's the same for an adult. Like I wouldn't go and play badminton every week unless I enjoyed it, for example. I just wouldn't do that. So it's no different for a child. Sometimes it's easy for that to get lost a little bit, and it becomes sort of, well, let's get on to those fundamental basics, and making sure they're holding it the correct way and things like that. Whereas the reality is, if he doesn't care about golf and if he doesn't want to improve his golf, which is another conversation entirely possibly, then why would he want to change his grip? What's the purpose of that? And if he was to drop out in 6 weeks' time, well, that was just a lot of wasted effort, wasn't it? So yeah, when it comes to fundamental, going back to our conversation earlier about no parents really want their kids to, straight away, they don't necessarily want them to be a tour player. They just want them to find a hobby that they enjoy.
Yeah.
But you still get some parents that will perhaps get overly involved in, I'm talking about in coaching here. So perhaps overly involved in a session where, you've got to stand like this and you've got to hold it like that, instead of just letting the child just explore and just smack a ball because it's fun to smack a ball.
Yeah.
So at which point we will often have a conversation with them and just have a chat to them about what the purpose is of our coaching and the purpose of them coming along, and talking to them about that and saying that you can't create a golfer in 20 minutes, but you can put them off the rest of their lives in 20 minutes if you make it too kind of stuffy and this way and that way. So it's a very kind of open conversation really, and we let all the parents know that what to expect with our program with coaching and playing, that it's not going to be this way and that way, and it's just, let's just see where the wind blows with the kids and what they want to do.
Yeah, what we love, and I think one of the reasons why we wanted to invite you on the podcast was the games that you do, because we've seen so many of them, but where do you draw your inspiration from? Because we'll try and include some videos within this podcast, so if people haven't seen your Instagram videos, they can see within this podcast. But where do you draw your inspiration from, and what's the reaction like from kids and parents? Because they look amazing.
It's just this crazy chaos that I think everybody else just wants to be involved in.
And it's not something you necessarily associate with golf, which is the best thing about it.
That is what golf is about, not this kind of like this strict environment. Yeah. It's what you guys are doing with kids. Yeah,
I mean, don't get us wrong, like the sessions are based around golf. They definitely are. And a big chunk of it is about making sure that they're prepared for going on the golf course, because that's a massive aim of ours as an academy, but then also hoping that they want to try to improve their golf a little bit and get better at it. But yeah, we always make sure that within each session, or at least every other session, we have some like kind of, it's almost like a party, I guess, where we'll have some real crazy kind of games. I don't really know where I get them from. I just kind of check out YouTube a lot and have a look on there and find some guy in the States or wherever around Europe doing some funky game, and I think, well, I wonder if I could turn that into a golf session, and I just figure it all out. So I spend a couple of hours each week planning what I'm going to do. I'll sit down and think about every session and how it's going to work with the facility we're at and the equipment that I've got and the kids that are in the sessions, and suss it out. And once you get a good game, it's pretty nails. It's brilliant. I really enjoy it. It's just really good fun. It's purely just like I was as a kid, just playing golf just for the sake of play. It hasn't got to have sometimes doesn't have to have a purpose. It can just be for the sheer sake of play, which is a massive purpose in its own right, but it kind of has a it appears to be less purposeful, doesn't it? But
yeah,
children learn through play, that's a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what you're doing, I think it's amazing personally. I love it. I love watching your videos and things.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
I think what was really interesting there that you touched on, I'd like to sort of evolve this, because I've just thought of something else that I'd like to speak to you about in relation to this, which is preparing kids for the golf course. And I think this is really important. So we are trying to work with our local club to introduce things like as basic as it is, like junior tees, especially in winter conditions when courses get boggy. They put temporary greens in place. You know, you don't quite get the rollout off the tee. All of these factors, I think, can impact a child's enjoyment. You know, certainly on a fully sized golf course. Again, I think just trying to think in terms of tips and advice and the work that you do to help prepare kids, because I know a lot of coaching generally, the perception is it's from tee to green, but I think a lot of coaches from who we spoke to generally reverse engineer that, and it's sort of from the green backwards. What's your approach in that respect, and do you feel golf clubs are doing enough to basically get more juniors on the golf course?
Yeah. Great question. I like it. I mean, going back to like the first point, kids are ready to go and play on the golf course if they want to go and do it. It's not like there's a test that they've got to pass, that they have to be able to hit it X distance. If they want to go and play on the course, just go and play on the course. Like it's not a big thing. There's definitely a lot of sort of, I think they're almost like psychological barriers with parents that play golf and with kids that parents that don't play golf. It's like, oh my God, can I really take my kids onto the golf course? And then there's a lot of, I do believe there is, a good amount of responsibility from each club to make sure that their course is opening and welcoming, and they create the right environment for it to happen. You obviously wouldn't want to plonk a 5-year-old kid with one club and a putter going out to play 3 holes on a golf course in the midweek medal. That would be a complete nightmare, wouldn't it? It'd be a car crash. So you have to sort of make sure that say the tee is on a quiet afternoon or an evening, that there's whatever, half an hour of tee times or an hour where there is space for them to do it. But in terms of, like you said, reverse engineering, so starting it from the green and working backwards, you can do that. I mean, I can't really see a problem with going on from junior tees and giving it a whack. If they miss it and they just want to throw it, and if they want to just move it up the fairway and stick it on the fairway and smack it from there, it's just playing on the course that I think is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd almost feel if we had a kid that was walking, if you're on a 400-yard hole and he said, right, you're going to start from the green every time, that kid's going to be like, you're kidding me, I've got to walk all the way down there. 400 yards to a 5-year-old kid's like a mile, isn't it?
It's exactly.
I'm not sure I'd want to do that. So you can come out with ways, if you want it to be really creative, you hit a shot from the tee, you get it on the fairway, you get a point. Well, let's say if you did want it to score it, you can get a point, and then you move it closer, and if you keep it on the fairway, you get another point, or whatever you want it to do. There's no sort of do's and don'ts and like I say, tests are passed to just be on the course. I think that's where we're trying to go. It's where we're trying to improve. With our coaching, we do have a lot of kids out on the course that play and that play independently. We're starting to sort of develop that. So going out on the course when it's not a structured event and just playing because for the sheer sake of play, it's still got a long way to go. We're definitely not there yet. But from where we were 6 or 7 years ago, we hardly had any. So it's we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
No, it's past. It's fine.
It's all right. No, I think what it'd be good to know as well, because I think that we've spoken to again a lot of coaches from all over the world, and I think fundamentally, everything that comes from every coach is echoing the same sentiment, which is fun. But I think as our podcasts and the information that we've shared, that we've been able to collect from people like yourself, experts within the industry, as built, the subject of accessibility is one that's come up as well, and we've spoken to a number of people around whether golf clubs are doing enough, not necessarily to introduce able-bodied children into golf as well, or able-bodied people of any ages. But a lot of golf clubs are finding issues with, not necessarily finding issues, but not really doing enough to help people with difficulties getting to the game. And I just wanted to see if that was something that you were aware of or had experience with.
No, not really. I wish I did. I quite literally just do junior coaching, so I have very little experience in disability golf. I can certainly point in the direction of the people that do.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to say something based on that, because my experience is very limited on that, I'm afraid.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, but just on that, I mean, you've obviously got 180 juniors there.
Yeah.
Is everybody considered kind of able-bodied, without disabilities, that are actually coming through? And do you think that the reason for that?
Yeah, no, all the kids that we have, I'm just racking through. Yeah, all the kids that we have are fully able-bodied. So there's no physical disability children in our coaching for whatever reason. That's not a purposeful decision. That's just how it's become. We have a lot of children that are mentally have learning difficulties. So we do have quite a few kids with ADHD, a few with autism, and a few other bits and pieces as well. And so yeah, we certainly have to adapt what we do and just very slightly tweak how we deliver on course experiences and in coaching session experiences for those kids. It's not normally a major thing that we have to change. It's normally just a simple conversation and making sure that they're in a group that's perhaps, whether it's calmer and it doesn't have the lively one, or whatever it's going to be, or more lively if we needed that way around. So it's just finding the solution to the problem with whatever we've got in front of us. Yeah. And so we have to deal with that. You also have to deal with the fact that not all parents can make a Thursday at 5 p.m. So we have to juggle in with that too. So there's all sorts of sort of management things that we have to play around with.
So basically you're taking your cues from the parents on how you can better support that child to improve them in the lessons. Yeah.
Hey, the parents are going to be the experts on their kids. Like, I'm the expert on golf. The parents are the experts on their kids. So I'm definitely not in a position to say this is how you manage your child. That's definitely not my thing. And then equally, when we used to deliver in schools, we used to speak to the teachers, because they're with them 30 hours a week. So, I'm having some difficulties with this child. How can I manage him a bit better and look after him? And they'll say, well, try this, this, and this, and each child's different, aren't they? So especially if you've got different learning difficulties, then you don't know which way it's going to turn and how it's going to look.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many courses out there as well, isn't there, that if you did want to kind of expand your knowledge in those areas, maybe other coaches that are watching could do that. They could jump on, look at the courses, see what's available, and then how they can better support the children that are coming to their lessons. Yeah there are. I mean, I won't lie, I can't say I've done a great deal of training in that respect. I probably ought to. I mean, speaking about this isn't saying what's right or wrong. This is just saying the options that are out there. Yeah, it's about just opening that conversation up and just saying, well, actually, did you know that there's these courses that are available as well? So it's not saying that any method is right or wrong.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm not taking it as an insult. Don't worry about it. It's more just that it's amazing. You can learn from the parents. So just I haven't done anything to help me with that. It's just learning how to manage some different kids in different situations and speak to parents about how to do that best. It's definitely not like if you did ask a parent, I'm struggling with so and so with your child, they're never gonna. Well, I like to think they're never gonna sort of think less of you as a golf coach, that you can't manage their child. They're just gonna want to help.
It's with any child, isn't it? If a child's having a bad day, you could just need a bit of advice from the parent. Okay, what's happened? How can I turn this around? It doesn't have to be, directly aimed at anything in particular. It's just, I need a bit of support with this child right now. And of course, asking the parents is the first line. It's essential, isn't it, when you're working with children. So, yeah. Yeah,
of course, yeah. And it's very easy to almost get like a divide, isn't it, between parents and golf coaches. And I think a lot of coaches and maybe people out there are sort of, the parents just get in the way and they're a hassle. But that's
connection's important with your parent.
Just use them, like they're valuable assets. And if from our perspective of trying to create long-term golfers, parents are the ones that take them to the club. Parents are going to be, especially with the younger ones, that are going to be the ones that pay for it. They're the ones that are going to walk around the golf course with them. They're going to buy the clubs and book them into competitions or book them on the course. There's no way an 8-year-old can do all that. So they're very, very necessary and very very useful assets.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
What one thing I wanted to ask as well, just changing the subject slightly, is obviously we're drawing into earlier nights now. So how does that impact the sessions that you do? Obviously, as the winter draws in as well, and do you adapt to the? I mean, well, first, I suppose other questions are: do kids tend to drop off during that season? Do they continue? And what do you do in terms of your sessions to obviously factoring in seasonality, the colder weather, and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our weekly group sessions, so the coaching side of it, we're very fortunate at our site that it's pretty much a fully floodlit driving range. So we never have the opportunity, we never have to cancel a lesson because of bad weather or daylight. We can always coach. We can coach through till 9. Oh, excuse me. And then the putting green's also floodlit. So this week, for example, we're doing putting lessons, putting and chipping lessons. So we're still doing that. And I've just bought a couple of extra lights just to sort of light it up. So it's like a bit of a battleground with lights everywhere. But it's fine. It's very, very usable and doesn't impede. So we're quite lucky with that. Kids generally, I mean, I rarely get kids that go, "Oh, too cold, I don't want to go to golf." Yeah. It doesn't happen. We normally find the first week of when it gets really cold. So you get that cold snap, and all of a sudden it comes along, and you get the kid that comes along in just a jumper. And then they're a bit like, oh, and that'll be the first week. And then after that, it's like they learn. It's like the parents learn, and they put them in a body warmer and a hat and some gloves. They don't. We do naturally get like a small drop off, and then a bit of a kick in the over the summer holidays and in the summer months. It's not a huge amount though. Maybe probably less than 5%. I would have guessed is what we'd sort of normally see. And in all honesty, I don't know exactly the reason why we get the dropouts in the winter. I guess it would be more from the parents that sort of think, oh no, it's too cold for him to go out and play golf. It's a summer game, and they would do that. Rightfully or not, I could be way off the mark there. But that'll be my best guess anyway.
Amazing. Well, I think from our point of view, it's really good to see the work that you're doing. As I say, to have so many kids actively involved in golf from such a young age is brilliant. And we love your content as well. I think one of your videos is I think you said hurt the ball. Was that one of the? Tell the ball you're going to hurt. Tell the ball you're going to hurt.
Yeah.
And we love all that. I think it's trying to, I think just gamifying each element of the, of the sessions that you do, I think is brilliant, and the kids are clearly having a ball. So congratulations on everything that you're doing there, and we look forward to to viewing your content, as that progresses. Also as well, if you don't already, click the link below where you can follow Aaron and the good work that he's doing at Ignite Golf. And also, if you do have any questions, also feel free to comment below as well. The podcast's available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and YouTube, and everything else. So hopefully, if there's any questions there, you can check it out. And we look forward to seeing further content and further guests on The Noisy Golfer. Take care.